Hello, I'm Jane Dutton with a wrap of the week's news. This week has been dominated by events both above and beneath the ground. The horrific spike in food poisoning incidents, killing more than 20 children, has led to government declaring a national disaster. And the Zamas who are refusing to leave a mine shaft in Stilfontein. The community there and human rights activists have been fighting for their rights for food and water to be sent down to them several kilometres beneath the ground. They say they're frightened of being arrested.
I don't believe it's a rescue anymore. It's just a hearse that is here to collect corpses, dead people. Because if they wanted to collect alive people who's being alive, they should be allowing food, water to go in.
It's exactly a week since Police Minister Senzo Mchunu visited this area for a site inspection of the shaft that's just behind me, where hundreds and possibly even thousands of illegal miners are. That extraction requires a 3-point plan. As we've mentioned before, we're currently in phase 2 of that plan. Phase 1 was the clearing of the area around the shaft, the cleaning, removing the rubble, all the way up to the gravel road that's quite close to where we are. And now phase 2 is the deployment of even bigger machinery and the deployment of a camera down the shaft to continue with the assessments. Safety, I think, is one of the big issues here, and the reason why it's taking a bit longer than anticipated. They really need to make sure, and they're very pedantic about making sure that all the boxes are ticked when it comes to the safety assessments. The camera has been deployed down the shaft. Again, they say it's not an exercise to spy on who's underground and what's happening underground. They already know that. It's just a question of making sure that they have a better understanding of how that cage needs to be deployed once we get to that point. And that's what a lot of people are looking forward to seeing the most. How exactly that shaft or that cage will be deployed. We're still a very long way from that point, from what we understand. The people who are able to speak to us aren't able to get into the nitty-gritties of the technical aspect of the deployment of that cage. But of course, a couple more days to go till we get to the actual extraction of the mine, the illegal miners beneath the surface. Nogukhanya Mdambo, Eyewitness News in Stilfontein, Northwest.
So what rights do these miners have? Their case made it to the Pretoria High Court.
We've made it clear from day one that we are merely just implementing what is expected of the SAPS in terms of Section 205 of the Constitution, which is to prevent and combat crime. And we are still of the view that what is happening down there is pure criminality. People are mining illegally, and we are merely just stamping the authority of this.
Licensed mining companies are allegedly purchasing gold from illegal miners. A research paper by the Benchmarks Foundation found that legitimate mining companies would buy off minerals from Zamas. Postdoctoral research fellow at the University of Cape Town, Ntebogang Pakisi Potas, says mining is not sustainable in South Africa. Doing research into illegal mining in the country, she found that legitimate mining companies were supporting the illegal mining sector. A national disaster has been called to tackle the spiralling food poisoning incidents in the country.
But if you want to escalate the response, you go to a declaration of a disaster. It has far-reaching implications because you need to mobilize soldiers. You need to go wild if you want to go to a stage of a disaster.
School governing bodies have to ensure that food vendors trading on school premises are certified and compliant. Tuck shops, vendors and traders in Gauteng have been given the go-ahead to trade on school premises again. Earlier this month, a ban was put in place to deal with incidents of suspected food poisoning among school children. The Gauteng government says it's relying on police officers to ensure the smooth running of spaza shop registrations by preventing lawlessness at the service sites. After controversial civic group Operation Dudula blocked foreign nationals from registering their spaza shops in Soweto. As a result, the provincial government has deployed police to 85 centres across the country. Spaza shop owners have been queuing to register their businesses before the 21-day deadline set by the president. Some countries say they will arrest Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his former Defence Minister Yoav Gallant, as well as Hamas's Mohammed Daif, should they set foot on their territories. Italy and the Netherlands are some of the countries who've openly said they'll comply after the International Criminal Court issued warrants for the 3 men on Thursday. The court says the men face accusations of crimes against humanity and war crimes in Israel's war on Hamas in Gaza. It was set off by the Palestinian group's October 7th attack last year. ICC pre-trial judges say they've charged Netanyahu and Gallant of using starvation as a method of warfare, as well as crimes against humanity of murder, prosecution and other inhumane acts in Palestine.
The first thing we did, of course, was to communicate with the people we represent, the direct victims, and we're receiving here, my phone is filling up with cries of cheers, of hope. The victims of Hamas attacks and their accomplices are carried toward this court. This court bears a great responsibility. You know, there's a sign of hope.
As the ANC awaits a decision on an appeal of expulsion by its former president, Jacob Zuma, Matthews Pauza, who served as his Treasurer General, says the entire saga is unnecessary. Pauza says that forming the Umkhonto we Sizwe party and campaigning against the ANC was a betrayal by Zuma.
I'm still a member of the ANC. Yeah. What a chick.
This was the cherry on top for Matthews Pauza after hearing what he's described as a betrayal and a big disappointment by former ANC President Jacob Zuma. Zuma had announced he started a new political party and wouldn't campaign for the ANC. Pauza says the former liberation movement should have used other aspects of its constitution to put this issue to bed.
They should have fallen to those sections and expel him and not continue to cuddle him as a victim.
At the same time, while Pauza admits they collectively killed the ANC in Polokwane in 2007, he says he has no regrets about opposing Thabo Mbeki's bid for a third term.
Our assessment was that Mbeki was on a rampage against his comrade. He was. He gave people a sword to stab him with.
The ANC is yet to communicate the outcomes on Zuma's appeal of his expulsion. CD Madia, Eyewitness News.
The MK party has announced that it will celebrate its 1-year anniversary at the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban next month.
This rally, among other things, will be used to agitate and mobilize the people of KwaZulu-Natal to start a very extensive program of uniting all progressive forces to reject the IFP-DA-led government and reinstate the legitimate government led by MK party as a party that got 45% of electoral support, 29 May 2024. So it's not just a celebration, it's a call to action to the people of KwaZulu-Natal to stand up and defend their votes.
The G20 presidency has officially been handed to South Africa in a ceremony in Rio de Janeiro this week. It'll be the first time the year-long program of the bloc will be hosted on the African continent. President Cyril Ramaphosa has pledged to make it an inclusive occasion that will feature the voices of civil society, which he told G20 leaders is the bridge between themselves and those whom their deliberations will impact.
In the end, as Her Excellency says, it is energy that drives growth, that drives economies. So renewable energy then gives us those opportunities.
South Africans will know before Christmas if they'll be paying more for electricity next year or not. Eskom has asked energy regulator NERSA to allow it to hike electricity prices by 36% for the next 3 financial years, starting in April. NERSA's public hearings into Eskom's application kicked off in Cape Town and will visit all 9 provinces for the next 2 weeks.
Because why would we fight for the last 2 or 3 years to get our inflation rate down to 4%, only to do something which is going to knock it right back up again? Because electricity prices is not just about the price of the units that you buy for your meter, it's about the price of everything. Everything, every business here uses electricity as one of its biggest costs.
Water pollution in Mogale City has led to fears that the Cradle of Humankind may lose its designation as a World Heritage Site. Hospitality businesses there, which rely on its rivers to attract customers, have suffered as water pollution in the city intensifies.
Rivers in Mogale City are pitch black with no sign of marine life. Due to faulty and broken water infrastructure, raw sewage has been leaking into the city's rivers. Trevor Brove, a director at the Cradle of Humankind Sites Association, has been trying to bring attention to this issue.
The reason we bought here was because the river was pristine and the water was clear enough and clean enough for trout to survive. In fact, even in the river there was the odd wild trout. From then, the river has just deteriorated and deteriorated. There's no ways that we can have a trout in this water. The trout just die. We used to have people every week. We had bookings for months. And now shadow guests come and they are put off by the smell. I don't blame them. The smell can be horrendous.
At the heart of the water pollution issue is the dysfunctional Percy Stewart's wastewater treatment plant. The 54-year-old plant has aging infrastructure, and the municipality says it requires 120 million rand to fix it.
And I wish you a good weekend. I shall see you for more again on Monday.
Eyewitness News, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or ewn.mobi.